Good evening and welcome to our November 6th, 2025 Select Board meeting. Open meeting pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F. After notifying the chair of the public body, any person may record or transmit this open meeting. This hybrid meeting is being recorded by the town of Stockbridge. The names of members participating remotely will be announced. Any member of the public wishing to speak must first receive permission from the chair. The agenda items listed are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, but not all may be discussed, and other topics not listed may be brought up for discussion by the public body as permitted by law. Public hearing. The public hearing to consider the application for the property of Berkshire Meadows LLC located at 3 Mackinac Terrace. The applicant is requesting authorization pursuant to section 6.1.2 of the zoning bylaws to allow the extension, alteration, reconstruction, or change in the use of non-conforming single-family dwelling. The property is in an R2 zone. The applicant has asked to not come tonight, and if the 20th of November is could be the next possible time to hear this. You have to vote.
Yeah, roll call vote to.
So roll call vote to continue the public hearing.
Hi, Chuck.
Hi, Georgia.
Aye, Jamie. So that so moves. To approve the minutes of October 8th and October 16th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes. Public comment. This is an opportunity for the select board to listen to residents, property owners, and business owners. Topics of particular concern or importance may be placed on a future agenda. Each speaker will be limited to 2 minutes. Total time will be 10 minutes that may be extended by the chair. Do I have anyone that has a public comment tonight? Seeing none, we'll move along. General government. Public input by the public will be limited to 3 minutes per agenda item. Total time will be 10 minutes per agenda item that may be extended by the chair. Would the pilot committee like to give an update? And just introduce yourself for people who might not know you.
Pull up a chair to sit, you can sit.
I'm sorry,
Pull up a chair.
pull up a chair.
Yeah.
Both of you can sit up.
Yeah.
Can Jay, you join me?
Sure. We need you standing behind the podium. One is out official.
Good evening, Tom Stokes, 51 Interlaken Road. And I'm chair of the pilot committee. Pilot stands for payments in lieu of taxes. And this committee has been going on for quite a while. I was just looking this afternoon at my correspondence with Jay, who's been on the committee from day one, and it goes back to 2018. And at the time, I was on the Board of Assessors, and it was in that role that we helped get this started. So it's been through various phases. We never quite had it together enough to present it to the town. At one point, we thought we were making real progress, and then came the pandemic, and the not-for-profits were all shutting down or in serious financial trouble. So we put it on hold, and now we're looking at a new opportunity to bring it back. And in some ways, it's a good time to do it in that the town is experiencing real expenses with EMT, the school budget. It's a good time to be asking people to chip in when they can. On the other hand, it may not be a good time with all kinds of cutbacks for funding on the federal level that affects the arts and entertainment, but Jay and I have been talking about it. We're the two remaining members of the committee, and we feel that we should really confer with you. We've talked with Michael, and he prepared a very good outline of what a pilot committee might look like, and we can share this with you later. And one reason that I think it is timely is precisely because Michael is quite familiar with the pilot program, and he's familiar with the Boston model. And I think he prepared an excellent sort of summary of what a pilot might look like and the reasons to have it. The idea of a pilot committee is that it provides a framework for the non-for-profit sector to see how they might want to contribute to the town finances. And back in the beginning, we explored various models in different towns, but most especially the Boston model. And in the Boston model, non-for-profits are asked to contribute 1/4 of what they might otherwise contribute in real estate taxes. And of that quarter, 1/2 of it can be services in kind. So it would be to follow the guidelines. They would provide a minimum of 1/4 of what their 1/8 of what their tax assessment, and the other 1/8 can be in-kind services, whether it's educational programs for the town, whether it's free admissions. There's a whole range of ways that not-for-profits. One reason that motivates us, and I'm not inclined to name organizations at this point, but there's a big disparity in Stockbridge between those who give generously and those who don't give at all. And I think putting a program like this provides a guideline that tries to be fair, tries to be understanding, and it also provides some peer pressure for people who are not contributing. And it's public, it's transparent, it's equitable. So this is, we totally understand the benefits that nonprofits give to the town in terms of tourism and income and from people who spend in town and lodging. And culturally enriches our town. So we deeply appreciate all the nonprofits. And this is not to say that we don't, but it is a way of, particularly at a time when our town expenses are going up. And for instance, the EMT is something that if you have a lot of visitors coming to one of the not-for-profits, there could be medical emergencies, there's snow plowing, there's police. So there are a range of things that the not-for-profits really gain. At the time we were looking at it, we checked into other towns in Berkshire County that might want to have a pilot program. And to be honest with you, we did not find much interest. For instance, we checked with Lennox, and the Tanglewood campus is in both towns. It's our biggest organization, BSO, and they're part of the pilot program in Boston, but not here. And Lennox gets water and sewer from Tanglewood or the BSO. They get police detail. They don't feel a need to be getting anything more from the BSO, and that's understandable. We also looked at the town of Williamstown, which has quite a lot of not-for-profits. The college, of course, but there's, Clark Institute and other institutions in Williamstown. But they too said, listen, Williams College is also our biggest taxpayer because they own a lot of real estate that they pay tax. And they give generously to the town of Williamstown. Williams College does for education, for police and safety, and a range of programs. So we're kind of, in Berkshire County, we would be sort of pioneers on this. But this is not, we're used to being pioneers. The Community Preservation Act in Berkshire County started with two towns, Stockbridge and Williamstown. And now a great deal of other towns have adopted that. So what we want tonight is a candid assessment from the Board of Selectmen, whether they feel that it's timely to try to move this forward at this juncture. And if so, we would, we're all busy. Jay is busy, I'm busy, others, but having been with this for 8 years, we feel that, let's really try to wrap this up. Otherwise, if it's going to be postponed and arguments could be made to that, then I think we feel we should put it on the shelf and it would be up to a new committee to revisit it if they thought it was more timely. So the timeline here would be to first to see if the Board of Selectmen is really serious about having a pilot program. And second is then we would start and we would work with Michael and others in trying to finish a questionnaire that we've started to the non-for-profits and more interviews with interviews with other stakeholders in the town to get a feeling. And this would enter into a report that we would make to the select board. And the report would be a framework that would recommend the establishment of a pilot committee, a program in Stockbridge, a volunteer program. So it used to be, and I think it's still the case, this would not require approval of the town meeting. It would simply would be established by a vote of the Board of Selectmen. However, we feel that since all the taxpayers in Stockbridge are impacted, that there should be a non-binding resolution at a town meeting after the Board of Selectmen have agreed to it, and that the Board of Selectmen should be advised by that. So if there's an overwhelming, significant vote at the annual town meeting that favor the establishment of a pilot program, then it could become a reality. And then it would not be up to the pilot program to be negotiating agreements with the not-for-profits. That would rest with the Board of Selectmen or people the board might assign to do this. It's not up to our committee to be asking various not-for-profits, will you sign something or another? Our report is just going to reflect the feelings about it and how best we might work collaboratively with the non-for-profits. And all is sort of a team effort. We're all invested in Stockbridge. We want Stockbridge to thrive, and we also want our finances to be solid, particularly at a time like now when we've just passed a 2.5 proposition to help fund for the schools and the mounting expenses we see with the EMT center, et cetera, et cetera. So would you?
Couple of thoughts, if I
Yes.
might add. Just to kind of focus in on this whole situation, we're not asking this evening for the select board to comment relative to the viability of a pilot program. One of the thoughts that we have is the establishment of a strategic planning committee, a committee possibly comprised of Tom and myself, possibly a representative of the select board, and Michael Canales. This strategic planning committee will take a look as to what has transpired and what's out there and what we can propose. And basically, the look has to encompass post-COVID, Tom mentioned that, and also what's happening with respect to government funding right now. So basically, we're suggesting that a strategic planning committee be developed, that the select board feel that this is a worthwhile idea, that the strategic planning committee independently meet. They talk about the issue as to how and who will interview the pilots, the purpose and role of the committee, and the membership. Who should be a member of the committee? This is all something that will evolve through this strategic planning committee. And also the possible use of an independent consultant. There are consultants that are quite skilled in this area. So that plan would then be presented to the select board. And if it's a go, if it's something that the select board is interested in, we bring it up to the town as to a reconstituted pilot effort. So
Excellent.
if that makes some sense.
And just one other thing about retaining a consultant. And frankly, we feel that this should have a professional look to it. We could probably do a lot with the something over 5,000 that we still have in the pilot budget that's been carried on for the last few years. But, we'd like to perhaps leave the door open to the fact that if we get a really top consultant who's going to be if she or he is going to be putting a lot of time into this, that we might want to ask the board if they have any available funds to supplement what we already have. But we really do feel that rather than have this drag out, we should get on a fairly tight time frame with the idea of getting the board approval of a pilot program by early next year and being able to present it to the town as a whole. It's next year's annual town meeting. And I think, and I appreciate what Jay has just said about a steering committee that will help us get this thing through.
So this isn't something, this is still voluntarily. We can't force anybody to,
Absolutely.
No.
so
There has been, by the way, just for what it's worth, there have been some legislative efforts to have a legislation passed that would be mandatory, but that has never even gotten out of committee. There's broad sympathy in the Commonwealth for the not-for-profit sector, and we would not be in favor of a mandatory payments, rather just totally voluntary. And
the bulk of the nonprofits do donate one way or another. Is that correct?
no, the bulk of them do not donate.
They don't,
Not to the town,
not to the town, but
but
for
they could, I'm sorry,
The
donate.
fire-
to
We would
the
like
fire
the bulk of
department or
them
the
to
police
do it.
department.
yeah,
I'm
they-
sorry?
They donate to departments, police department, fire department.
Well, there are two ways of doing it, and Michael has outlined the possibility. And in Michael's outline, there's a suggestion that we may start with payments to help the more immediate needs for the town, especially the EMT, but for the new center, but maybe that could evolve into funding for the general fund.
I mean, if I could, because I saw, Georgia, you were looking, I didn't put anything into your packet because I wasn't sure exactly what was going to be discussed, but I did submit a while ago, about a decade ago, North Adams did look at the Boston, plan, read the Boston plan. So what I will do is I will get what I sent to the pilot committee about this, because one of the things that's done in Boston is they remove all the functions of government that aren't used by the nonprofits. And I stripped that out. That's one way to look at it. You look at public safety, public works. Those are things that obviously impact them, having police, ambulance, fire, good roads and stuff, but not like the educational component or anything like that. And then the other one is looking at what's done in some other communities as far as individual organizations of possibly doing it. I propose that one of the things that could be considered is, do we base a pilot around knowing that every 5 years we have to purchase an ambulance? And whether or not over a 5-year period, we ask based on the EQ, the value of the properties, that they contribute percentage wise, so that after 5 years, we'd have $500,000 to buy another ambulance and keep our ambulance fleet new. That would also create one of the things that I know I mentioned to Tom. It creates a nice thing to say, hey, look what we did together, and that we're able to support something like that. So I'll send that to the board. It was just some of my thoughts based on the research that I had done previously. And then we can examine that and bring it back to a future meeting if you'd like.
I think I'd like that. I just, it's hard times for everybody, and they're not getting the funding. And they give us so much for the town of Stockbridge that I'm not sold on it, and Tom knows that. But maybe there's a way to look at it where we might be able to have some help with the ambulance and the new fire station. But some of these that don't give directly to the town do give to the fire department and to the police department, so that we don't see that. And then some of the people that give in lieu of taxes also are like Section 8 housing and stuff like that. So we have to decide whether, they might be a nonprofit, but have affordable housing, and do we go after those people? I just have this whole thing going on in my head.
That's something that could come out of this strategic planning committee, as to what the purpose, what the focus should be. One focus, very clearly, Michael has said, per project, fire EMS, et cetera, or something else. So I think what we're looking for is, would you like, as a select board, to take a look at this with a committee and then come back to you with a report as to what we would propose in that regard?
I just asked one, why should the select board consider another committee?
Yeah.
It sounds like you're just renaming the pilot committee.
Whatever you want to.
Maybe just
Yeah.
keep it as the pilot committee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just to summarize, I thought Michael's summary, the last comments, he talks about the benefits. It provides some equity, predictability, flexibility, and transparency in the process of engaging the not-for-profits in a discussion about the town finances and ways, they may or may not choose to participate. And just, if the board should decide that, George's points are totally valid and we respect them, and it's a hard time for many nonprofits. So we're not invested in this in a way that we're trying to push something over. We recognize that there are pros and cons, but we just do want to offer to complete the job if the Board of Selectmen feels that it's timely to do that.
So I had a couple of clarification questions. Is it necessary to do this report and go to town meeting? Because that pushes it out almost another 7 months. And then from there, you still want to get a consultant and it pushes it out a couple of years and a consultant.
The consultant would come first.
Okay.
The consultant would help us write the report, would help
Is
us
that
with the interviews.
necessary?
So the idea is not to push it out. I think as far as, I don't want to speak for Jay, but as far as I'm concerned, come town meeting, I would like to be done with this project and move on to other things. And if there is to still be a committee, I would want someone else to take over as chair. But I don't mean to put this as an ultimatum. I'm just
Just
saying
No,
this
trying
is
to
where I am.
understand, because you had mentioned to have sort of it to be equitable to all the nonprofits, which I believe there's about 9, and right?
It depends on how you
You
define
count
it.
them, right?
Because actually our largest nonprofit exempt, I would rather refer to it.
Yes,
To be,
that's a very good.
Marion fathers.
Non-for-profits are
religious.
exempt from
Yeah.
property taxes, yeah.
I guess my point being is that I guess I was thinking you would have written up a letter that you would send to everyone and say, would you like to participate? Here's what your neighbors are doing. Somehow,
Well, let me, don't mean to interrupt, Jamie, but we've already have a letter that we sent out just recently. Peter Strauss was very helpful as co-chair most recently. And he and I did a number of interviews with people, and we're grateful for the work that he did. So we're not reinventing this. We have a letter already out there that needs to be tweaked, perhaps. We have a questionnaire already prepared that should be tweaked, perhaps. But basically, that's been done. We need to complete the interview process. We've had some very good interviews, I would add, and others got deferred. But we'd like to complete that process and then write up the report. And as I said, then the board could accept the report, and if they support it, then our suggestion is that the town vote. It doesn't have to be that way, but that has been our suggestion all along. This is not new. That was part of the original plan, but it can be adjusted as you wish, because we're serving the Board of Selectmen here.
If you want, I can send what I sent to them and maybe we can place this on the agenda for the 20th to review.
Yeah, I don't want to make any decisions tonight without reading what you said, because I don't want to be compared to
we
Boston.
can do we need to make a vote to continue?
No,
Or
it's
North
not
Adams.
formal, you
Just-
just place it on the agenda.
We're unique, so I just don't want to be,
Well, Boston's totally different. I mean, they're,
I don't want to
I mean,
be
PSO.
compared to Boston or Adams like you or North Adams. And so just to kind of get a feel of what you wrote, that's my thought, but I'll leave it to you.
So I think either of us, as you contemplate this and prepare for next week, we'd be happy to respond to any questions you might have.
Okay.
And would you like us to return to you suggesting?
20th?
We
Take
would
the
push
20th.
it to the
Pardon?
20th.
Can you come back on the 20th?
Yes.
And what will we have by then for the 20th?
Yeah, I need to check mine, but I'm pretty sure I could.
I'd just like to leave you with one thought, that in this whole process, the evolution of replanning the function, we would involve a couple of the nonprofits who support us now and get from them why they feel support of the town through a pilot program is important. We can use them for input too. So that's important. Right?
And I will add that of the interviews we have had, several of them were already supportive.
Yeah.
And and there's one nonprofit that pays the full real estate tax. And we don't think they should, but they have been doing it. And we feel that they would be all too glad to be paying a quarter rather than the full. But they could be, I'd rather not name names here, but as I say, some nonprofits have been generous, and some of the very small nonprofits have also donated. But
Right.
I'll wait for us to all get the copy from Michael. We will reconvene on the 20th about this, and I thank you for your report and your input, and we will think of it.
Thank you, thank you.
A lot of thinking.
And I'll
Yeah.
get back to you with about the 20th.
Okay,
Yeah.
but in the meantime, I'll read that, and if I have any questions, I'll get in touch.
Thank you.
You want my 2 copies?
He'll give us,
Okay.
thanks.
All right. Michael, would you like to give us an update of the dredging project that relates to Stockbridge
I gave
building?
the board the report from GZA. So the key things for this calendar year was to get the isolated vegetated wetlands approved through the Conservation Committee, get the test pits done to confirm whether or not there's ledge in the area. So GZA, working with our highway department, did do the study of the location. We did the test pits and the rest. And there is nothing preventing us from moving forward to the next phase. So GZA will now be conducting the archaeological assessment of the area to check to see whether or not there would be any artifacts in that area that would in any way impede this project. So the project is on task. We continue to check off in a very systematic way, the checkoffs. If the archaeological assessment comes back and says that the area can be used for this, then Bullard Woods would be on task, and then we'd actually be moving to actual construction plans for the dredging project.
And
So,
did they start the archaeological study yet? the other?
yes, so
Okay.
we already had a consultant lined up, we had everything, but
Okay.
we didn't want them to do the work, because if it's gonna be close to 40,000. We didn't, which was approved a couple of years ago, but we didn't want that money to be wasted if the test pits, if we hit ledge, it was over.
Mhm.
And obviously
No,
with our own highway department doing the work, it wasn't a lot of money to do the pits. So we did do the pits, we determined there was no ledge, so now we can move on to the next. These parts have all been previously funded, the money's all there for this, and this will get us to the next phase. So,
Well, I just have one question
yeah.
on, I don't know how to explain it to you, test pit TP1.
All right.
What page are you on?
It's the first test pit of like this. Looks like this, Jamie.
Right.
Yeah.
So my question is, on all the other ones, they say boulders count class NA, and on this one, it doesn't have anything. Doesn't say NA, so I just didn't know if, and I couldn't tell by the picture. Maybe I'm just being nitpicky, but I just was wondering about that.
Just saying,
Let's see here, on this one, on this report.
okay,
Organic roots. Organic roots.
And most of them all have the same, all the other ones have everything else the same. The note number and everything.
NA.
But I see NA. I'm on the same.
Yeah, I guess I'm looking at, I'm trying to see what's different
I'm not seeing it.
in the note one. So I guess
I don't,
you could just point.
It only went down 4 feet and the other ones went down 12 feet. So maybe that's because of this. They only went down 4 feet, but it doesn't have these NAs where all the other ones. have.
oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah,
So I was just wondering
Or was there no boulder, right?
why,
well, NA means not applicable, so we didn't have any boulders, there's nothing on that one. I
right,
do know the summary said that none of the test pits came back to prevent
right.
the use of bowling ones.
So
I can get that clarified. I'll get that clarified for the board for the next meeting. I did not pick up on that. I'm not sure why the boulder class count. That might be just an oversight because NA just means not applicable.
right,
So if they had encountered, they would have put the class of the boulder there. So
right.
I'll just,
That's
I'll
what I figured,
confirm.
but I thought I would.
Yes, I'll
Because it's
confirm.
saying it's brown clay.
Right.
So maybe there was no boulders.
Right, I'm thinking it should say NA, but
It's
it
very
doesn't.
possible it's
Yeah.
not. I mean,
Right,
They just-
I'll clarify that and
you
get
can
back to you
dig
on
10
that.
feet apart from each other and
Yeah,
hit nothing on one and hit legs in the next.
yeah,
I mean, it's just-
right. But overall, the study came back
right.
and they said there's no reason for it. So far we are progressing right along. We're a couple months behind schedule. The test pits took a little longer to organize. But then that's done and now the next assessment. So, and we have the funding through this and then we have to determine the next funding going forward past this. So once we get the archaeological assessment done.
How long is that
we'll
gonna
go
take?
So
Usually,
they did the initial one, which was it was about 5,000, which was just an analysis of records. No physical records, just records of where the tribe was, location and stuff. And they said, yes, this is an area of concern. So now they have to actually do screenings and they'll do actual diggings and everything else to determine if there is any archaeological significant items within that area.
Does
So
it take weeks, months,
it'll take months.
months?
So.
and if they find something that puts us back quite a long time.
It could, yes. These were the three
One
that,
thing at
as
a
I
time.
pointed out, these
No, I'm
three
saying, but
things,
just so
have to
people
get
know that if they
answered
do
for
find
all of-
artifacts,
yes,
they can.
it could potentially even
Way back.
prevent the project from happening. Yes.
Okay.
So these were the three,
So the public knows that,
Yep.
this isn't a done deal.
yeah. Yep. So we've checked off two and we're on to the third.
Go
So,
over out there, figure out what to do with the stuff besides going there.
right. That would be a complete, basically all the work that's been done over the
Yep.
years has been for the last 7 years on Bullard Woods.
Yeah.
And these three needed to be answered. So I made sure, let's do these in a very systematic way, get them done, and then let's move on.
All the eggs in one basket.
Yeah,
Get a broken egg, the basket's done.
it's done. And we made sure to put the most expensive one at the end. So if the other two had kicked us off, and now we're on to the third. So, yeah. So that's where we're at. I will continue to update the board on this. I will also go to the Stockbridge Bowl Stewardship Committee now, give them the same report from GZA and review it with them, because I told them that I would, after reviewing with the select board, I would review with the SBSC. So, yeah. We have a question.
Kate, do you have a question?
Yeah, thank you. A quick question. I'm interested, so the first step of the archaeological report indicates that there was activity. Is this Lower Bowker Woods?
So all that the first report did was identify that that was an area based on historical records used by the tribe. We have no idea where in that, we just know within that, the area in Bullard Woods was shown up in records. So now they have to do the actual in the ground assessment where they'll actually dig, look for artifacts and the rest to determine whether or not there actually are. So the
And
other one was,
But the location that you're looking at is the lower field, correct?
yes, the lower field.
Okay.
Yes.
And have you seen the records?
No, I did, there was a report from I'll get that report and it just stated it was, it was over the winter that they had done it to say that, yes, the tribe was in that area and they recommended doing a full assessment. So,
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that's just helpful for something else I'm working on. Thanks very much.
all right, I'll get you a copy of that.
Oh, I don't need a copy. I just wanted to understand the location and, well, I guess I would be interested to see it. Thank you.
All right, yep.
Thanks, Kate.
Any other questions by the public? Seeing none, any by the board?
No, I'd like to see that report too, if you.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, then, thank you, Michael, and
Yep.
we'll go on to the next topic, which is Pine Street Park. Chauncey Collins is here. And I'd like to read a letter into the record because I think it'll be helpful. It was dated September 8th, 2025 to Michael Canales, the town administrator. Dear Michael, this letter follows up my earlier correspondence and the discussions at recent select board meetings on June 26, 2024 and July 24, 2025 regarding Pine Street Park. As you know, the Austin Riggs Center first raised concerns about the deteriorating condition of the park's court more than 3 years ago. Under the terms of the 99-year lease dated May 1st, 1970, responsibility for maintaining the park and its courts rests with the town. We remain concerned that the property's current condition poses safety and liability risks. While the center could have exercised its right to terminate the lease due to the town's non-compliance, we instead continue to engage in good faith while the town considers how to proceed. We understand that restoring the courts to their original condition could cost the town upwards of $500,000, and that comparable facilities are available just 2 blocks away on Main Street. Moreover, we appreciate the town's ongoing investment in recreational infrastructure, including the new pickleball court at the town hall site, which also serves as a winter skating rink. To support the town's efforts and facilitate a constructive resolution, the Austin Riggs Center is willing to contribute $50,000 toward the installation of an additional court or other recreational amenities the town prefers at the town hall site, in exchange for the town's agreement to a mutual termination of the Pine Street Park lease. In addition, the center is willing to, 1, waive the requirements that the town restore the property to its original state by removing the existing Pine Street courts, and 2, allow the town to repurpose or relocate any fencing, netting, or equipment as it sees fit. As we've shared previously, the center is exploring alternative uses for the Pine Street property should the town choose not to restore and maintain the courts in accordance with the lease. Regardless of how our plans evolve, the immediate next step remains. Either the town elects to restore and maintain the courts, or the lease terminates. We hope the select board agrees that a mutual agreement to terminate the lease on the terms outlined above would be the most sensible and attractive path forward for all parties. Thank you for your attention to this matter and for the town's long-standing partnership. We look forward to continuing our collaboration toward a thoughtful and mutually beneficial resolution. Sincerely, Chauncey Collins, COO, CFO. Right, done. Should we have, Mr. Collins, would you like to speak? Would you like to talk? Would you?
The letters and everything.
I think that's
Okay. Oh, I just wanted to give you that. You're welcome. Board questions, discussion.
I think it's a very good proposal. My opinion is if we're going to invest for $500,000 into courts, I would rather do on town property to begin with. Either here or Park Street. At least here we have bathrooms and parking. Park Street, we have parking. The initial cost of, taking down the courts is extensive, and then for that much money at this time of what's going on in town, we can invest in courts down the road if need be. But at this time, I can't see the town investing that much money into tennis courts at this time. And I think the proposal that Riggs made is a very generous proposal. And I would endorse it.
Mhm. Georgia, do you have anything?
No, I just know that people are very passionate about that court
Mhm.
and,
It is true.
because it's quieter, it's not, not next to the pickleball court that makes a lot of noise. So if we were to accept their generous offer, I would suggest that maybe we build another tennis court away from the pickleball court that we have.
We've been on Park Street.
Or on Park.
Yeah, I'm just
I
saying.
mean, definitely.
In somewhere
Yeah.
other than next to our pickleball court that's up at Bidwell Park.
Really, there's no room there anyways.
That was just one of my thoughts.
That's something we can discuss down the road.
Right.
I think financially and stuff, tennis courts will probably be down on the list a little ways for the next year or two.
Well, let's just wait and see
Yeah.
what happens with this.
I do feel empathy for the people that do use the Pine Street courts and the quietness, and that it's the nostalgia, because it's been there for a very long time, but we have not, I don't want to say it's in a mean way, but we haven't been good tenants. We didn't, and it's good reasons, COVID and all these other things, and the cost of repairing went up a lot after COVID.
Is it a residential neighborhood?
And it is residential, but it is Austin Riggs property. And if we're not going to spend 500,000, which is a huge cost, considering we now will have a new school and a new fire station.
I just for your information, I did relook at the numbers and the numbers that we had received, getting some quotes on the court. So a hard cost with the contingency would probably be closer to 400,000, not 500, but it's still
That's
a
substantial.
substantial cost. And as of the board, I know at least two members were on when we talked about 2 years ago, when we went to resurface the court, we had a quote of $58,000 to redo the court, just resurface the court, but they would not warranty it for a day due to the cracking base. So that led us to say, well, we're not going to put 58,000 when we can't warranty the work being done. And then it sort of stalled. And that's where we're at now.
It's a liability after that point.
Right. And there was another point. I think Georgia had, I don't know, I think it was, if we were to do this, I guess I would want them, right, Georgia, that we don't want the money to go to Parks and Rec, but to go to the town. And then we allocate it for Parks and Rec, right? Isn't that how
If we decide to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because Austin Riggs put the Board of Selectmen in charge at that point in time. So
Yeah, it is the
this
town.
is not a parks,
No, it's a town.
it's a town stipulation. And I think they've been very generous to create those tennis courts to begin with back in the 70s, because there was tennis courts within their campus. And that's where I learned to play tennis, was inside the campus. And so they decided to build, so which I think is very kind of them, so.
Okay, so we go from here.
Any public comments?
Yes,
Yeah, does anyone from the public like to speak tonight? Don?
I just had a couple of thoughts. I can't believe I'm the only tennis player that's here, because I've only played for 2 years, but I'm a total addict.
But Joe is.
I'm not even that great, but you are too?
I have kids that are,
Oh, okay.
that live in the community.
I just, listening to this, it just strikes me that there's a really good opportunity here for, like a reset, if you'll excuse the term.
I agree.
So that if there is gonna be a second pickleball court, then there are 2 tennis courts, and 2 pickleball courts, and money to maybe maintain these at a level that that we're down the road, not facing what we're facing at Pine Street. And also in resurfacing, it would be great, like, I don't play pickleball, but the pickleball lines on the tennis court make me nuts, neophyte that I am. And so there might be some good opportunities there to make sure the tennis courts are just for tennis, the pickleball courts are for pickleball, that there be benches available on both courts. There currently are not. There's only benches on the new pickleball court. So it just seems like a good opportunity to just kind of make it all kind of even and in one place. And sad as it is, I mean, I played I had my first lesson over there, but so just an opportunity to.
Yeah, they're all valid points. I just want a couple of things I want to say. First of all, I think Mr. Collins' letter is very well written, and it's definitely presents this idea of sort of trying to come up with a resolution, so how we can move forward. From the way I see it, one of the first and foremost points besides nostalgia, which is a valid thing in itself, is this says that we had an agreement that we had the responsibility for maintaining the parks and the courts there. So the first reset that I would think is to take care of our responsibility to take care of those courts. And then there's the money and how to do that. Obviously, 55 years have passed, there's 45 years left, or 44 respectively more. So the cost, when we think about the bigger picture, from a Stockbridge resident point of view, I think it's important to factor in, first of all, that monies that would be invested in that, maintaining that court, would be spread over the course of 44 more years. And meaning that you would have the remaining lease for 44 more years if you did that base level of the work, right? So you got 55 years out of the first foundation, you get 45 out of the next foundation, you have 100 years worth of courts for Stockbridge use, which is a valuable thing. The second element is that I think that the $400,000 figure, I think there could be some debate about those numbers, that we shouldn't necessarily race to decide that that's the fact, because every person, the 3 outfits that I contacted about what it would take to redo those from the ground up where they could be warranty were sort of half of that number of 500,000. So I think all 3 of them were consistent. The one in Southern Vermont, as well as the one locally, definitely came in at under. And I think there was some debate about how to get rid of the demo and how to get rid of all the materials. Obviously, it's cited in your letter that the using town DPW employees for the demo or something could be one of those resolutions to bring down the cost a little bit. Just a thought there. I think, I think the biggest point is that, I mean, I don't know, it's the, Austin Riggs is a good neighbor and it seems like that we have a good rapport, but I do think it was our responsibility to take care of those courts, and I do think they bring value. I also think that the pickleball court that's now been put in there is going to create a little bit of strife for the tennis courts that are right next to them. So while I think it's a good thing to have parking and bathroom use and all that for the pickleball, I think that they might expand over onto the tennis courts when their one pickleball court is used up and there's a line of 4 more people waiting to play. So those tennis courts may not be as easily accessed. So those are.
They were pickleball courts before the other court was put in.
I'm sorry?
Those tennis courts were used for pickleball before the pickleball court was put in.
Well, that could be,
That
it makes sense to have that as the flexible court. So you could do pickleball when tennis people are using it, and then it could also be used as a second tennis court in some ways. But there may often be pickleball. People can put their nets up on those tennis courts anytime, so that's a factor as well. And I guess another thought, just thinking forward, like I don't know what plan, it's their land, so it's in many respects, it really is not our business what they plan to do with that, what their alternative, I think it's alternative uses for that property, should the town, elect to terminate the lease, but it does make me pause and think about the bigger picture of what the plan is. But to me, it seems a logical thing to finish our lease and then go to plan, finish our lease for the 44 years and invest in those courts for the remainder of those time. And that's keeping up with the promise that we made as Stockbridge, our part of the agreement. That's all for me.
Thanks. Anyone on Zoom?
Hello, this is Ramel Pulitzer.
Hi, Ramel, you may speak.
I would just like to agree 100% with Joe that I think those courts are very important to the town and the well-being of our visitors at the Red Lion Inn and other places, as well as the residents. They were used frequently until they went into disrepair, and several regular games were set up ad hoc on those locations. They were very competitive. And the addition of the bang board, allowing anyone to practice there, was really important. And I think there's there might be a basketball hoop or something to use that space in a variety of ways, just the way it is, just to resurface that rather than reinvent it, I think would be an enormous addition to our community. And certainly something's got to be happening to it now because it's gone so far. So thank you for putting this on the agenda for the selectmen, and thank you for investing in the recreation of this town that attracts so many visitors and now has a school right down across the road from there. And I dare say those students might be using it as well. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Ramel. Don?
Can I just quickly say, I don't know whether this is in fact true, but I did hear that there's no plan for tennis courts at the new high school. I don't know if that's.
I
I don't
don't
know if that's true either.
Okay.
I would think that's a little suspect.
Where?
Like I said,
They have a tennis
I don't
team.
know if that's true. It doesn't quite.
It doesn't make sense.
Oh,
I meant
Excuse me, just as the students are there if they wanted to play, whether it's part of the school program or not, I have no clue. But there are a lot of students and young people around this area now, thanks to the school. That's all
But
I
this is
imply.
you're talking about Monument.
talking about the
Yeah.
school having.
And also the Berkshire Waldorf School.
They can use, right, presumably they could use those courts too. One point, if I may, do it. Just to note, Article 29 on June 12th, 2021, town voted or appropriated $95,000 for site maintenance in the town tennis and pickleball courts. Michael was great in your communication with me, very helpful, clarifying some base questions when I first started investigating a little bit. And they did make repairs to, looks like a basketball courts over here at the town hall and maybe some fencing over there. So those funds were appropriated at that time and supposedly invested in both locations. And so that's kind of an important thing to just acknowledge that when we talk about $10,000 here or there, we did spend $95,000 on those things. And in light of that, we might be able to keep the cost of the tennis courts down a little bit lower if we didn't redo every little bit of the basketballs at Pine Street, and you focused on getting a good foundation of the tennis courts in for a lower cost and use the town to do the demo. Maybe you're out for $250 or $300. And so, that is plausible. And again, I want to emphasize stretching that over the course of 44 more years could be a way to offset some of those costs. And I also think lastly, that it is the smoothest way to repair this dilemma with Austin Riggs where we let those courts go to disrepair. I think it's the smoothest transition to get there. That's what I think.
Just to make sure everyone knows, the terms of the lease require the park to be just as it is. In other words, so if you were to change it and say, oh, we just want tennis courts and eliminate this like a basketball court, or, you know, so the whole thing has to be kept as is and in good shape. Secondly, Austin Riggs has actually done a lot of maintenance on the place and kept it. I mean, Austin Riggs mows the property, does the spring and fall cleanup, leaves and all that, and has repaired the fence over a few years ago when it was kind of coming down. So just wanted to name that.
Thank you. Excuse me. Kate?
Yeah, I'm just curious as to how often do tennis courts need to be resurfaced?
Ideally, at least every 5 years, they should be resurfaced. And we did spend the money on, we did repurpose this court 2 years ago as part of that 90.
Right.
This court was done, the basketball court was done, and we made some fence repairs. Then we started down there, and that's when we got the $58,000 quote from Paredes to redo the court on Pine Street. That wouldn't be
warranted, which makes sense, right?
Right.
So there's the resurfacing element, which is not as costly, and then there's the foundation bill, which would enable and would ensure like another future 40.
If you keep your courts in good shape, this was only 20-something, like 22,000 to resurface it.
Yeah.
Because typically it's not, that one was gonna be so much because there was so much work that needed to go in, and then he went, but I won't
That's part of the
warranty.
maintenance thing.
When you say resurface, that's paving.
No, that's painting, they spray what's called a sports coat
Yeah,
down,
that's not
which is a
putting-
small
that's not-
micro seal over the
That's
top.
not putting new
seal it
pavement
in.
down.
Oh, no, down there, we're talking a full.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Dig everything up.
Say resurfacing,
And a
it's,
whole new foundation put in.
resurfacing usually means repaving. Either
you're-
maintenance, it's
so you're-
painting and that type of work.
So roughly every 5 years, Kate, you should be putting in roughly somewhere around 20,000 to resurface them, repair any crack. But the more often you do it, you can actually, it's deferred maintenance. That's what caused Pine Street.
Construct it to 7 years, but then
Yeah.
it can.
So it's $400,000 to address a foundation, and then every, I guess, 3 to 5 years, $22,000?
So if the court's in good shape and we stay up on it, we can actually probably get it down closer to probably 10. If we
And then-
we have to stay up on it, and that's gonna be the key going forward, so.
Okay, and then my other question is, has Austin Riggs indicated if the decision by the select board was to go with the offer where the lease would be, the property would be relinquished by a lease, have they indicated what their thoughts were for that area?
We have, Austin Riggs has not made a decision, and in fact, have no plans to do anything at this point, but it is a resource that we would likely use at some point.
Can I just back up and ask a question? If you happen to know what the repairs that were done 2 years ago to the Pine Streets, was it just the fence or was there some basketball?
It was just the fence, and we did put up new backboards at the basketball court, which we would, if we would take those posts and backboards and put them on this court at the half court.
Right.
We would repurpose.
Yeah.
Definitely repurpose those.
Make use of those.
Yes.
I wasn't necessarily suggesting, just for clarification for the record, that the park would be changed in any way, but maybe they didn't have to renovate the basketball things all at the same time. So
Yeah,
so that was just one idea.
yeah. I do know that the full work of the pickleball court over here was, it's roughly about 66,000. You would have to put at least 4 courts to equal the size of that one. Then you have the demolition cost, bonding, prevailing wage, and the rest, which would drive the cost up. I still think it's gonna be in the 300 and something with a 10% contingency. You're talking 400 is what I would recommend as a budget for it. Not necessarily reaching the full 400, but I think it would definitely be 350
Right.
plus.
And then from a historical perspective, can anyone speak to, was there an arrangement early on back in May 1st of 1970 where we arranged a lease with Austin Riggs in lieu of paying certain taxes. I don't know the exact history, but it is curious to me. They were nice enough to let us, what was their incentive back then to let us use those courts for 100 years?
Georgia can correct us. They,
Just dig back and
Nice
try to
neighbors.
understand where that.
my understanding is the public court
That was before
used
my
by the
time.
public were in the Austin Rig campus behind the building. And then the desire of everybody was to move the courts out. And those were the only courts, I believe at the time, were the only courts in town.
Right.
So then they were moved onto Pine Street to get them off the campus because Austin Riggs redid their part of their campus. So the town and Austin Riggs worked together so the town would have tennis courts. Then later the town put in the tennis courts over here.
Right.
But they couldn't be used during school hours, correct?
And then when these came in, originally were part of the school, my understanding is that the town
They could-
were usable during school hours and then.
Obviously, Austin Riggs is a very valuable asset to our community, and I think sometimes these things come up to work together as a sort of exercise in civility, and it could prove that if there is a way to sort of connect and show mutual respect for each other, I think that's always a healthy thing. So there is value in working with Austin Riggs and sort of honor our commitment and these shared properties, although it's nice, the idea of building different tennis courts, there's going to be a cost to that too, which is going to be a hard sell. So I sometimes think a little cooperation goes a long way. So I would look a little closely at that.
Did you, Mr. Collins?
You mentioned something about payment in lieu of taxes, and so I just want to acknowledge, and consistent with what Tom Stokes said earlier, Austin Riggs has made a payment in lieu of taxes every year.
Yeah,
We know.
you have,
Yes,
they have.
thank you very much for it.
I wasn't.
They've
sure
been
about the land,
consistent.
Right, about, we don't pay taxes for the use of that property. Right.
To
It's a
Michael,
lease, right?
Kate again.
just a second, I get to ask first. The money, say we choose to resurface and we need 400,000, that has to go to town meeting and has to be the will of the people.
Right.
So it's still not a done deal.
It wouldn't be.
Right.
Right.
And still 400, where do we pull that out of our budget?
It just goes to the taxes.
I know, but Kate?
Well, I just am thinking that it would be awfully nice to know. I want to acknowledge the nostalgia people feel for these courts. And I also want to acknowledge the gesture by Austin Riggs to provide the space for courts. And then I'm thinking that working forward in collaboration, whatever, if the board decides to go with the preferred offer from Austin Riggs, it would be awfully helpful to know what the plans are for the space. And with that, I'll just put my vote in for a green space that allows for people in town and workers in town to go and have a break and, in a more quiet spot than the Main Street tends to be. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Kate.
Kate. And just to let you know, if you, roughly 400,000, this is just off the top head math. 400,000, if we were to do a 20-year bond on a 400,000, payments would be roughly in the neighborhood of 25,000 to 26,000 annually for
That's
20
helpful,
years.
right? So is it like that sort of some sort of deferment but paying over time?
Right. Yep, I just want to be upfront that would be an option.
George,
Could be
you
And
have,
then
Wait.
I'm not sure, I think I sent maybe something to Georgia, but for Jamie and Chucky, I wrote a letter more about this on July 21st, 2025, which I think I sent to you.
And I sent it to the slide.
And so they have it, but I just wanted to say for more of that point of view of that. So, yes.
Georgia, you have,
I understand the nostalgia and all that, but I feel there's spaces here. If somebody wants to have a quiet moment, we have a lot of space here that they could go and sit on the rock or go up on the rock room or go where the Little League field used to be. So, and I understand all that. And I hate to see it go, but I think that myself personally, I think this is very generous and we haven't kept up on our lease and that's a liability in
There's no
itself
parking.
for us. And, right, there's no parking on there. Cars are parking all over the place. I would, like to see us accept Austin Riggs' generous donation of this, and they still continue. They have been giving, they are one of the nonprofits, one of the main nonprofits that have given in lieu of taxes for umpteen years.
Yeah.
And I can't thank them enough for that generosity. And they are great neighbors. So,
And the yard is nice. All the trees, they're always nicely taken care
Very well
of.
maintained.
I too, I can be really empathetic for nostalgia, but I'm struggling even if we say we bring it to town meeting, it still delays it it's like another year almost. And we still don't have a resolution. And Mr. Collins has brought this to us in the summer and then they got delayed. And I don't know. And I think George's idea of maybe putting a new tennis court down in Park Street, because that's quiet and underutilized. I don't know. Okay, you have anything?
No, I'm in my point.
Okay. Do we have to do a vote?
Well, tonight you don't have to make any final decisions, but if you're considering to terminate the lease, what I need is a vote to authorize myself and town council to prepare a draft lease termination agreement, which would then have to come back to the select board. And that's when you'd have to make your final decision based on
On your leave?
on a lease termination agreement. So you don't have to make any final decision tonight, other than authorize myself and town council to work with Austin Riggs to come up with a lease termination agreement.
Do we
They
need
will
a
come back-
vote or not?
Yes, I would need a vote of that.
I'll make a motion that we allow Michael and town council to work with Riggs to
Prepare a
see
lease
what
termination agreement.
termination.
and then just wait, did we get a second before I discuss?
Yeah, exactly. Now you can discuss.
And then we can still
Discuss it.
discuss
We can
it
discuss
and look at the termination and everything before we actually vote on the.
Mhm.
Right.
Yes. So we have a first, we have a second. All in favor?
Hey,
Aye.
Aye.
thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your input, and we will put it on the agenda November
20th.
20th. So it's our next meeting. Is that okay, Mr. Collins? Okay. All right. Chime Tower update.
So the board has the two most recent updates on the chime tower of the work that's been completed. As you know, we talked about it before I went on vacation that we were gonna get a stone. We finally have
Oh, right.
identified a limestone that is very similar to the limestone that's used in the tower. It's going to be here next Thursday to compare to the existing limestone in person to make sure that it matches up. Because we did realize that the foundation corners, 3 of them were starting to deteriorate where you can actually push your hand right into the stone. It's just like rotted wood. Stone can rot. I know George is very familiar with this because it's the same stone on the church,
Right.
Main
Oh.
Street.
Let's take it from there.
We'll just grab theirs. So if this limestone does match up, They would bring it in, dig out the existing limestone, then cut a new one and slide it into place. And then the foundations would be secured for the foundation, and the work will be completed on the Chinatown. The building was washed and the scaffolding will be coming down. And because the work that's remaining is up to about 6 feet, so they don't need scaffolding for that.
And we're all
So-
set for the 250th.
We will be all set for the
Yay.
250th.
So, my understanding is that, did I read somewhere where it's Indiana?
I believe it's coming from Indiana.
Right, so there's different kinds of limestone in Indiana, so we want to make sure
Yes.
that it's familiar. Now, the other concern I have is the mortar that they're going to use, because it has to be specific, otherwise it's going to eat away at the limestone.
Right.
So I have some recommendations of possible mortar.
All right.
I mean, I know we have a specialist, but I would like to know what it is to compare with what I've been told to fix.
Yeah.
Ours-
Is this
I'm sorry?
Ian and from Preservation, those guys?
Yes,
Because we discussed with them this over there. So
Okay.
we're working on all the same.
Yeah.
I have it in writing right here, everything that's needed, so I just want to make sure that we do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're working on the same. We understand it's coming from, it's a limestone, right? It's not Berkshire limestone.
Right.
Berkshire limestone
Is it different?
came out of a quarry in Great Barrington that no longer exists. So, so right now this has been the closest limestone that we have. We're getting a chunk of it to compare and see if it actually does match up. And it looked good on computer, but we all know how images
Right.
can look. So we have them sending a piece out to actually compare on site. So,
Been a very interesting project.
what's that?
Been a very interesting project. We learned a lot,
Yeah,
came across a lot.
came across a lot.
We resolved it all.
It is, the
Yeah.
China will be fully restored.
That's
So-
Gonna be
great.
beautiful.
That is a very vital, important part of this topic.
Right. Playable, restored, everything
Yeah.
else. So yeah, we are in the final stages here of the work and that. And I was able to get up there on the scaffolding all the way to the top. And when you see the work that's been done right up close, I mean, it's really quite, compared to what it looked like the first time I went up there, and wood, there was quite a bit of rotted wood, everything else and all the things
But this
that right now, if you,
Patched by
Yeah.
local people, just.
once the
patched.
scaffolding comes down, it'll be,
It'll
Yeah.
look better.
yeah,
Okay.
Thank you, Michael.
yeah.
Thank you, Georgia.
And then will you let us know when the stone comes in so we can take a peek of it too also?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's gonna be here on the 13th. So
Okay.
I will confirm the time if you want to go over and, yeah.
All right,
I'm
Jim.
glad that you're consulting with Ian and,
Yeah, we walked right over to the monument, talked about the monument. Ian came over. They have their experts too, and they've been searching the country for a limestone. So we're hoping that it does, and I'm gonna pass it on.
right,
Also, because there are other structures, our mausoleum at the cemetery, church on Main Street, that are all made from that original, which you can't get now. So
right,
if this Indiana one is a possible close enough match to it, then it'd be something to consider. If not, we're gonna have to consider a different type of stone to
Right.
place in. Instead
but,
of,
and then the mortar is very important, so
Yes.
it doesn't take away from the,
right, and that was part of our problem. You can tell by the trowel marks that the lower stuff was replaced with basically a cement, not a mortar. So,
Right.
and that led to some of the
The
deterioration.
eating, right?
Yes.
and they have to, specific tools they have to use. It's
Yeah.
whole big
Oh, yeah.
process.
Yes.
Process.
It is.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you, Georgia.
You're welcome.
gym bleachers update, because we had tabled that vote. So Michael, can you give us an update?
Yeah, just, we looked a little further into it and realized that the safety zone requirement, because anybody that's played pickleball or tennis or any of those knows that you play beyond the edges of the court. And therefore you need to have at least 5 feet on either side and 8 feet on either end. And when taking the safety zone, which is the minimum safety distance by the USA Pickleball Association, the recommended is 7 and 10, the minimum is 5 and 8. With using the minimum for recreational, there's no way to have more than 1 court in our gym. I have spoken to Linda, who was here, and we sat down about it, looked at the gym, and it's definitely, it's with the safety requirements around the edging of it, it's not possible to put 2 courts in there. Therefore, we don't have to deal with any issues of bleachers or anything else. The court and the gym can stay as is.
You just book more dates.
We'll just adjust some lines in there and that, but that's it.
All right, thank you.
Just 2 things that you don't have on here. If you don't start them tonight, I'll bring them up the next meeting. The flagpole and the horse trough.
Which flagpole?
The horse trough, I
Just for information, we can, and I'll bring those to the next one.
Okay.
Flagpole's here. We're waiting.
I know it's here.
It's not here.
Okay.
We're just
And
working on the
horse
installation
trough?
The
and the
horse trough.
removal of the other one. And I will give a full report at the next one because the horse trough should be back this spring.
Okay, people have been asking me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think that's it. So announcements. Our next meeting is November 20th, 6:30 PM, which is a Thursday, follows our pattern. The fire department is welcoming anyone to come Monday, the 10th, to an open house from 6 to 7 PM. Again, that's November 10th from 6 to 7 at the Stockbridge Fire Station. And Chucky, you had one?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the Council on Aging in Heaton Court. They had their trunk or treat, and I think it's great to mix the kids in with our outlet there. It's a great time. Everybody really enjoyed it. And also for the parade, the library, the fire department, police department, and the chamber for putting on a really great parade with the kids, and the library did an excellent job. And it's every year, and it just seems to get better and better every year. And it really makes Stockbridge what it is. So I want to thank everybody who was involved in that.
Thank you, Chuck. And Georgia, you had the last one.
I just want to make a public announcement that there'll be a trailer truck parked at the Lee Bank parking lot in Lee. And we're calling it Stuff the Truck for people to bring non-perishable goods to that to help fill the Lee food pantry. Stockbridge people go there. Other people around the area go there to the Lee one. And they're really in need of items for the people. They're serving upwards to 65 families every Saturday. And this past week, the cars were lined up out to the street at the food pantry, which is on Housatonic Street in Lee, next to Berkshire Liquors and that, what used to be called the Rink. But the collection will be on Thursday, November 20th, 21st, and 22nd from 9 to 12 at the Lee Bank parking lot in Lee. So anyone that would like to donate non-perishable goods, please go over there from 9 to 12. It would be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgia. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.